interrupt regular programming to bring you a message from Her Majesty's government. Please stand by and await further information. This is not a drill. They have arrived.
All right, here we go.
Do you want to start?
Yeah. So I'm going to start this. I'm going to intro it like I do my YouTube channel. What's up, guys? It's PB. So we're on episode 4 of the podcast. And on the first one, I was a bit shy when we started and you interviewed me. So tables are turned. I'm going to interview you.
Very nice.
So
what have you got, Pete?
Alex from Unilight.
Yes, Peter. Peter Booth.
So tell us about Unilight. What's your job role? Would you call yourself an MD or
I have to look at Jack a bit there because in here we do a bit of everything.
Yeah.
So I sort of I don't do any of the financial side because numbers, all that sort of stuff, just is not my thing. So I tend to do probably the sales, the marketing, a bit of creative, all the fun stuff basically. If you ask my sister who I run the business with, she'd definitely say that I get to do all the fun bits and she gets all the shit.
And did you come into the business and that's what you've always done, or did you work your way up from battery boy? You know, were you putting the batteries in the torches?
I'll be honest with you, if you'd have first seen me when I first started. So I got made redundant from the music. I was working in the music business.
Wow.
And I think about you
look like you were probably the sixth member of Steps.
McFly. So I literally got made redundant, I think 2008, 7, something like that.
Yeah.
And the old man was like, why don't you come and work for the business? And I didn't want to come and work for the business because I'd seen my parents get divorced from working within the business. I think a lot of people, when they look at Unilight and they just see the product, they don't actually see the whole history that's gone on. Right. So obviously when I get a dodgy comment, your product's shit, and I just want to beat somebody, I'm thinking like, you haven't seen from there to there.
Yeah.
But I came into the business, my dad was like, I need a sales rep. I was living in London at the time. My rent was like next level, astronomical. And I was thinking, well, actually, I've just lost my job. I can't get re-employed in the music business because everybody was getting made redundant. So there was people with 20 years experience taking jobs for like 20 grand a year.
Yeah.
So I had absolutely no chance of I was fresh out of uni. And for probably about 6 months, I really struggled to get a job. So the old man convinced me. I was walking around London because I didn't have a car, on foot, in a suit that was so big for me. It looked like Tom Hanks from Big.
Yeah.
And I never realised why people never really took me so seriously when I first started. So I started off in sales. So I literally started from, walking around town, getting told, no, too busy to see you. No, he's not in. And bearing in mind, all the wholesalers mainly are on the edge of London. So you've got to get like 6 tubes, 3 buses, and then walk for a mile just to get told, oh, fuck off, mate. So that's how I sort of started within the business. So when other salespeople come in, I'm a bit more sort of receptive to trying to help them because nobody really helped me when I first started here. My dad was living in Australia at the time.
Okay.
So
you joined as a sales rep.
Sales rep.
Your sister, is she working here at that point?
She's working here at that point. So she sort of left uni and then, I don't know how the old man managed to do it, but he managed to convince both of us to end up here.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, I don't think either of us actually would because I've grown up with lights. Yeah, I know about lights. I wasn't really that interested in them.
Yeah.
I was more interested in, sex, drugs and rock and roll back then.
I had the same thing with my dad. He didn't want me to be a plumber. But then, similar to you, circumstances changed. Like I was going to go to uni, but then I didn't want to go to uni. And that's when he offered me the apprenticeship. But now I hold it like it's there in my heart. It's like a family business. It means something to me. Is that happened to you or?
I think more so since my dad's stepped back from the business because it's my dad's baby in essence. It's a family business and I take pride in it. But as my dad sort of stepped back, probably mainly due to health reasons because he had a stroke, and I've put my stamp on the business. So everything that he's sort of seen now, this set, the new products that we've got coming out, all that really is sort of that inside there.
Yeah.
So for me, when I've sort of seen the business grow, because the business has like trebled in size in the last few years, and to watch that growth, it's sort of, that's not just me in here, that's Jack, that's Nathan, that's Laura, that's everybody in here, but that's the vision that's inside there. Whereas before it was sort of like my dad, I'd say to my dad, oh, you know, can I do this? And it was like, oh, I don't think it's going to work, type of thing. So you're sort of battling that, like you know, you want to take care of the business because it's a family business, but at the same time you want to be able to put your own stamp on things, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. So the first time I came here, you showed me, you got like it's not a museum yet, but I think you're probably going to get that way when you're going to make a room where you have uni lights from eras gone by all the way up to the modern stuff. And you showed me the stuff that your dad used to make, and there's some like things that people will recognise from their childhood.
Thomas the Tank Engine.
Stuff like that. Your dad designed them, brought them to the market.
Yeah. I mean, my dad was a lot more, how do I put it, more engineering based than me.
Yeah.
Mine is, I can draw something. I'm very artistic. I can draw something, even if it's a shit drawing.
Yeah.
I can draw it and I can get that idea down, and somebody else has to bring that to life. My dad was completely different. He couldn't draw anything.
Yeah.
He had to make it with these.
Okay.
So he would like chop stuff in half. I mean, I remember him testing like products and putting them in the microwave, sticking them in the oven.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you doing? He's like, well, you've got to make sure the thing works. So I think a bit of that's translated into me, but he was completely different with how he designed something to how I designed something.
Yeah. So would you say your role changed from the sales side to what you're doing now when your dad took a step back?
I think it had already started. It already started. I think my dad in the end was just doing like design and packaging artwork.
Yeah.
Which really helped us out, to be fair, because trying to find people graphic wise, it's took us, how long have you been here now, Jack? A year? Yeah, Jack's been here a year, but it's probably taken us 6 or 7 years to get like a decent team set up internally.
Yeah.
You get somebody that comes in, somebody stays for a little bit, and then one person leaves. And obviously the last 3 years, because we've grown so quick, now we can bring people in and actually feel part of a team, not where they're just like, well, it's just me on my own with one other person.
Yeah.
So that's quite hard, is trying to show people what's inside there before it's happened. Whereas now it's sort of happening and people can see the growth of the business, which has made that part easier.
And so now you're involved in the product development, the design. What was the first one that you could say that was totally yours that you designed?
Probably the CRI 1250. So you know the inspection light that goes in the charge base?
Yeah.
The larger one with the hanging hook on the back. That was mine, and that was probably the hardest one that I've ever made. It's the one where I procrastinated for like 18 months. So it wasn't really the first one. It was just the first one that ever got finished. You know, I designed stuff before, and I'd say probably 70% of the time, the stuff that we design never comes to market.
Yeah.
Sort of probably a bit like you, where I'm really critical of something that I'm making, and if I'm not happy with one aspect of it, and I think, could I have done better on that, or the technology's not quite there, I'll put it to one side, and weirdly I've got like a whole rack of samples in there, and I'll start digging back through them, and I'm like, I swear I had this in there, and all of a sudden the technology's moved, and that is the time now to revisit that product. But that was probably one of the most drawn out products I've ever had to make.
It's funny you say that, because I've just been on a trip to Germany, went to the Stabila factory, and they make spirit levels, and their thing is it's precision, everything's perfect. And people were asking, we had an opportunity to ask the MD questions, and they said, why don't you bring out, say, a Stabila app that does maybe a spirit level or measuring things with a phone? And the guy was like, the trouble with that is, because we want everything to be so perfect, we spend so long developing things and deciding, we don't like that, and then we redesign it from the ground up. By the time we brought something out, the technology's moved on. Yeah. So that's why they just stick to what they know, and that's making bang on spirit levels.
Yeah. I mean, we stayed with that ethos for a very long time, and I think the reason we changed, and we're now doing tool bags, tape measures, other bits and pieces, was the basics of the design. Now I've got that down. It's just the fine refinements. So say like for the tape measure, is making sure that the tape, the actual main bit that somebody's using, is not the housing. Yeah, okay, it's got to be ergonomic and fit in your hand and feel good, but that actual tape, it's got to be robust. It's got to be abrasion proof. It's got to be able to reel back in without getting jammed and stuff like that.
Yeah, you've kind of jumped ahead of me, but I'll ask the question now. So you've you've nailed the torches,
Yeah.
and now you're looking, and this is purely from you being ambitious and motivated to do more. You're now looking into things like tape measures, like you just said.
Yeah.
You're looking at, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but you're looking at doing like a spirit level with a laser on it.
Yeah.
Things like that. These are all ideas that are in your head thinking, what can we do? You're doing safety glasses, gloves.
Yeah.
What else you got in
Uh,
up there in your brain?
Anything like the safety glasses, but putting the lights on the side.
Yeah.
Anything where we can actually put a light in is something that I'm interested in, but doing it so that it's adding value to the product.
Yeah.
You can't just go and bang a light on a mic or
Yeah.
something like that. It's got to actually somebody needs to be able to actually tangibly use what you're adding to it.
Yeah.
But I'll just look at anything and I think, can I make it better? Or can I improve it? Am I adding anything to it? If I feel like I can bring something to it, like the tape measures, the reason we're going into those is eventually they'll have LEDs in there.
Yeah.
They'll be fully rechargeable with a laser pointer, which I'm just giving my ideas away here for everybody else that's listening. But for me, anything where I can improve it, but I want to make sure that I've got the basics right. So it'll just be a standard tape first.
Yeah.
If the tape withstands, then I know that I'm onto something and I can put the light in it because I've already got the designs for them.
Yeah.
But you have to it's a slow process. People don't see. They see that you've released the tape and then they go, where's the light in it? Because you're Unilight. But then they don't see that 2 years later there's a light in there and you've got a whole range of them and people are like, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Rome wasn't built in a day and sort of Unilight now is 40 years old. And if I look at it, I still remember like my dad coming home and saying to me, go stand at the end of the road and then blinding me in the face with a light. Going, is it bright enough? And you'd be like, oh, yeah, type of thing.
I think everyone's gone into a plumber's merchants or a electrical merchants and seen one of your lights on the counter and turned it on and blinded themselves.
Yeah.
Should come with a warning.
That's probably why I can't see anymore now. 'Cause the old man used to just from the end of the road.
I mean, we're top secret, but we're working on something together. An idea I had, I just came to you, and you're working on that now in the background. That's something, another thing on your probably list of things that you've got going on at the minute. Obviously, because of COVID, you can't go over and.
My thing is, some people can work via Zoom and other bits and pieces, but I like to be there when I'm explaining an idea to somebody.
Yeah.
Because no disrespect to factories when they're in China, Taiwan, South Korea, wherever the factory that we use is, you struggle and stuff gets lost in translation. It's Chinese whispers.
Yeah.
So you're trying to say, do you understand? And they go, yeah, like that.
Yeah.
And they'll understand to an extent, but then they'll just go ahead and do exactly what you've said. And if that doesn't work precisely when it's been engineered, they don't think, actually, I'll just change that to make that work there.
Yeah.
And then you get the sample and you go, what the hell is this?
Yeah. It's like when I do my bags, you show them a design, show them what you want, and then they
Revise,
make a sample, and then they send you the sample over, and then if they've got something wrong or there's something you don't quite like, you want to change it. But the thing is, this is all extra money and extra time.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing is like, I have people like the thing earlier, your products are too expensive.
Yeah.
If somebody saw probably how many hours I spend sitting there sketching stuff, and then it goes over to China and they come back with a 3D design for me, and then I sit there and I re-sketch over it, add notes. Lisa sits with me, so I spend half a day with her adding bits and pieces to it. It goes back over, handmade sample comes, then maybe a revised handmade sample, then like pre-production run, then there's like a post-production run where it's sort of like you'll get 10 of them and you have to beat the crap out of them to make sure that they work, and then you go to market with it. So then you actually go into final production. Each stage of that is costing you money to test products, to make sure that when somebody's buying it, the thing's going to survive being dropped on the floor or run over in a car. All of that takes a lot of time and it's a lot of money. There's so much regulation that people don't see. So before I've even got here and marketed or sold a product, it costs a fortune.
Yeah.
And then when somebody goes, oh, I can buy a cheap Chinese one off, I don't know, Amazon for a tenner.
Yeah.
I think you don't realise just like how expensive everything is to actually make something that's certified. You're probably buying something that's never been tested ever.
But the reason they can buy something off Amazon that's a tenner is because they've basically looked at what you've done and you've done all the hard work, designed the product, brought it to market, and then they just clone it.
Yeah.
And that's a massive problem for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things you'll see on...
Anything where it's slightly complicated, say if it's like a T-shirt, everybody can do a T-shirt that's similar-ish to this. It's a I can't remember what the exact name is, like a baseball style top, isn't it? So anybody can go and put the logo on, but nobody's going to say, oh, you've copied somebody there.
Yeah.
But when it's electronics based or it's got some sort of hidden work to it, it's hard to come up with that.
Yeah.
It's easy to just go, oh, iPhone, they've done all the work for me. I just copy it and make it cheaper.
Yeah. So what they'll do is they'll order one of your lights from you, then they'll take it to bits.
Sometimes what's tended to happen in China, South Korea with the ports is that some of these other factories, they pay people when your stuff gets to the port because they get it booked in. They know it's under your name.
Yeah.
And they'll actually like open the wrapped pallet, take 3 or 4 out, and then they'll sell those to the factories and say, well, that's going to cost you 50 quid.
Yeah.
Or that's going to cost you £100. And then all of a sudden, there's 6 factories all in a row. And by the time it gets to the M1, they've manufactured it for £1.
Yeah.
And then you get people ringing you up going, oh, your product's an absolute bag of shit. And you're thinking like, go on then, send me a picture. It's like, oh, it's not even my product, mate.
Yeah.
You know, like the beanies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, mate. Like, I'm not kidding you. That thing is just still bugs me to the day.
So you made a light that went into a hat,
Yeah.
and that was your original idea.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
We
tell the story.
fell out with the Chinese manufacturer that we got to make it because we didn't know it. Like, our factories, they weren't really, you know, at the time geared up for it because we were making primarily aluminium flashlights. So, you know, CNC machine, there wasn't that much plastic injection molding going on where we wanted to get the stuff made. So we got a new factory, and the guy, we didn't realise, had actually patented our idea in China. Because you just don't think, obviously, like I'm young, you know. He'd patented our idea in China and started selling the idea and the actual product to people before ours were actually ready. So when we came to start suing people were like, well, this has been out in Norway before yours. And I was like, how's it fuck? I said, I've designed it.
Yeah.
So I actually was starting to lose litigation on the stuff because we'd been done over by the factory in China. And the weird thing was the first order that we ever gave him for those, I think, was 20,000 units. And obviously we sold them. I think we sold 15,000 of them in a week in August. And it was absolutely roasting at the time. I remember selling all these beanies and thinking, you know, bold people everywhere are going to have a Unilight beanie on.
not mentioning any names, Will.
So stuff like that people don't see. But I must have spent, I think, close to about £40,000 on litigation.
Yeah.
And then after that, we were just like, do you know what? It's just not worth it. I'll just innovate quicker.
Yeah.
So if somebody copies something now, I've already got 3 or 4 versions in front. My head's like, but that's the only difference with that now is it's way more stressful.
It's not fair and it's not right, but like you say, if you can use that as motivation to push yourself to be one step ahead of them, it probably is a good thing. But you know, stuff goes on that you can't.
Yeah, you'll never stop it. Like you know, if Apple can't stop fake Apple stores in China,
Yeah, what chance have you got?
what chance have I got?
Rhino Trade Insurance sponsors Trade Legends, the best insurance for insuring your van and your tools. Keep them safe, and you know what they say, don't be a fool, insure your tool.
So, well, just quickly before we move on to the social media side of what you do, what's your favourite light that you've designed or that you sell?
Probably the most multifunctional one, the one where everybody tends to love it, is the SLR 1000. You know, the thing with the kickstand.
Yeah.
Everybody loves that thing. Like, I've just got a new redesigned version coming out, which is the same size as the 500.
Yeah.
But it's 1,000 lumens.
Okay, so smaller but powerful.
With a
powerful.
removable battery.
Okay.
Because people always go, oh, your bloody battery only lasts 4 hours and I work for 4.3. Thanks, mate. Do you know what I mean? So the thing that I noticed over the years is people will always use the product on max power.
Yeah.
They'll never go like, I don't know why. They won't put it down and go, I'm going to be here for 2 hours here. I need it to last 2.5. They never think, oh, I'll turn it down. So we now come round to the fact that we need to offer a bit of both for people. For me, I'd much rather give a sealed unit because it means that people can't fuck about with stuff.
Yeah.
They can't break it and then go, oh, well, the screw top doesn't screw back down. You know, typical consumer shit that you get every day, and you think, you know, just ring me and I'll just change the cap for you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But that's probably the one where I get the most pleasure out of it because everybody loves it. The one that I particularly like myself, is probably the 175, which is the three-sided.
Yeah, that's my favourite.
Flip LED one, and that's mainly because, again, it's so multi-purpose, but it's that small. To try and get something packed like that,
Yeah.
it's hard.
It's also, it's really well made, it's really well engineered, it just feels quality, and you can use it for a lot of stuff, and it's just something that's in your pocket.
I tend to like the products more where they go across. Like, it's not intentional. I used to specifically make a product and be like, okay, I'm going to aim that at the rail industry. Stupidly thinking, I'll sell 1,000 of them to the rail, or I'll sell 10,000 of them to electricians or whatever.
Yeah.
But the products now that I really enjoy are the ones where, you doing your job, where it's like roofing, or, you're out doing bricklaying, or you're doing, beams in a house, whatever it is. And somebody goes, that's great for me. And then there's a Sparky that uses it, a plumber that uses it, and you think, shit, I've hit the jackpot here, because anybody could use that product. Even if you went camping, you could use it.
Yeah.
Because we've never got into the outdoor market, because I just think it's just not us. Like, we're an industrial brand, but people can still use the product if they wanted to, because it hangs up or it's got a magnet, if they went on a family holiday.
You do head torches though, don't you? Are they big in the running world, or?
We were big in the running world at one point, and that was not through sort of me pushing it too much. Steve Cram got hold of a head torch. So Steve Cram did, and then him and his wife went over to Kenya, and Daley Thompson was there. Colin Murray off the BBC was there, and they all had Unilight head torches on with the Maasai. So the Maasai warriors were all there with head torches on. Even the Maasai warriors with a Unilight head torch on. So that picture went a bit weird, went a bit semi-viral.
Yeah.
Kelly Holmes ended up with one. Nell McAndrew.
It's just like a name dropping.
Oh, you remember Nell McAndrew?
Yeah, from out of Maxim and
FHM.
Yeah.
So Nell McAndrew.
Did she marry Dale Winton?
No, not that I know of.
Did she marry Dale Winton? Nell McAndrew.
Anybody knows? Did she marry Dale?
Google it.
I thought Dale.
I think he was that way inclined, but I'm sure they had. Or I might have been dreaming this.
Nell McAndrew.
Just put Nell McAndrew and
Dale Winton.
So
if you were dreaming, it's a weird dream.
And your products are predominantly yellow. Have you made any other colour?
We used to do. Well, the old man used to do stuff in green, because fishing market. Stuff in blue, like orange. Like it used to be like the old custard yellow, because there was no such thing as high-vis. It was custard yellow or like Tango.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I noticed when I moved into the business was I kept seeing like high-vis vests on parcel shelves in the back of cars.
Yeah.
And thinking, well, before nobody used to like wearing a high-vis vest. They go into places and they'd be like, I feel like a bit of a dickhead wearing one of these. And then all of a sudden, you see builders in a cafe, everybody's got a high-vis vest on, no one cares.
Yeah.
And that yellow colour, I don't know why. I had a Peugeot mountain bike when I was younger, and that was high-vis yellow.
Yeah.
And I think weirdly, subconsciously, I could always find my bike down the park.
It's good branding though. If everything's you're synonymous with that.
Yeah,
black and
it made it more recognisable on TV. So it wasn't even like a branding choice. It just happened, and then all of a sudden now actually like everything just married up. Weirdly, it's all just fell into place. Like if we watch a TV program like about the London Underground, you can always tell a Unilight product over anybody else's, because it's there in your face. So it's actually worked out better for the brand.
So we'll touch on to the social media side now, because that's a massive part of what you do. Was that your decision to get into that as much as you have?
Yeah, I mean, we're located not far from where Gymshark used to have their office.
Right.
So there was 2 offices up there just by Mackey's, and a lot of people will always go, oh yeah, I'm inspired by, I don't know, Peter Jones or people like that. Obviously, Ben Francis and Lewis Morgan, who started that business, are both younger than me. I think Ben's 29, something like that. Worth £1 billion.
Yeah.
And I just watched the growth of that business and thought, wow, like direct to consumer, using sort of like influencer marketing. And it wasn't like I just sent products to anybody and everybody. You know me, like I study people on there. I want to know that if I'm sending something to somebody, that person shares the same sort of values as the brand. I don't want somebody using it and being like, oh, fucking right, because it's, okay, somebody else might see the product and go, oh, I'll buy that. But actually, they're going to think that guy's a dickhead or that girl's a dickhead, and then associate that with the product.
Yeah.
It's guilty by association. So, I looked at companies like that and just thought, well, if it works for them, I'll give it a try. And the thing was, actually, when I started sending stuff to people, so I sent a few bits to you, actually I thought, I'm getting feedback here, and it's instant. That's why I love being on social. That's why I do the social accounts with Charlotte.
And that's a massive difference, because companies generally they'll employ a third party, like a media agency, to do their social media, but you do it all. It's mainly you. You've got someone helping you, but it is mainly you. So if you message the Unilight account, chances are they're going to be speaking direct to you.
Chances are it's me, because it's my own business and it's midnight on a Saturday night. I reply to people. Yeah. And that's the difference. And that's the one thing that when, I get a shitty message and I think, God, I could punch your face in right now, mate. And I'm thinking, here I am, midnight, my kid's in bed, my missus is thinking, where are you? Why haven't you come to bed yet? Yeah. And I'm replying to some guy that's been like, an absolute tosser. But that's, everybody's in that situation. But I would rather that be me that takes that hit than somebody else, because I know how to deal with that. But at the same time, it wears you down. Like, I'm on there all the time. Like Dave's the same. That's why I think Nipex is successful on their social. Yeah. Because it's him. He did the same as me. He went out doing sales up in Scotland. Yeah. So he went up there getting told by everybody, piss off, you English bastard. Yeah. Go back down south or whatever it is. But that's made him able to communicate the product better. But I always feel if it's not me doing it, I've got to be able to trust somebody else. Obviously, I've got Charlotte in now. She helps me with all the publishing side and stuff like that. So the posts are all like pre-planned and stuff like that. So it gives us more time to spend on creating the content with Jack or with Nathan or with G, who works here. But yeah, it's been massive for us. It's sort of revolutionised our business. It's enabled me. Like, we went to the exhibition yesterday, and there might have only been 2,000 people that come through the door. I can hit 2,000 people in one post. Yeah. In 10 minutes. And if you've got 50 people doing those posts that are hitting 2,000 people, that's 100,000 people in an hour, which is just...
it's definitely the future. But you like I said, you normally find companies, probably bigger companies, but they do employ a third-party agency to do their social media.
Social media suicide, mate.
And the downside to that, especially with like what we do, plumbing, you'll get someone let's say we'll just pick a boiler brand, local one to you, Worcester Bosch. And the marketing team will see a job and they'll see the Worcester Bosch logo, so they'll share it. But if they're not experts, plumbers, gas engineers, the pipework associated or the flue associated with that boiler, if it's wrong and they've not thought about it because they've just seen the Worcester Bosch and thought, we'll share that, it can actually damage their rep, because people like me will look at that and think, God, that's a really bad job. Yeah. Why are they promoting
like
that?
Association. Like I said to you, if I was to send a product to somebody that was been a bit of a prick on social, and my product's in that video, subconsciously somebody is associating Unilight with that,
and that's a negative hit on your rep.
And it's a negative. I mean, the guy that had the argument with today on here. Weirdly, again, you wouldn't be like this with me if I was an influencer. I'm exactly the same with everybody. Yeah, exactly the same. Obviously from dealing with me, and you guys from dealing with me a couple of times. I am exactly the same. I talk to everybody. Hi, mate. There's no corporate bollocks. And maybe sometimes that antagonises it. I don't know. But that's why I think we've been successful with social. Is it's like you said, if you're just normal.
Yeah, well, you got to be real. If I buy a Unilight and there's a problem with it because I've dropped it off the top of a set of ladders, and I message you and say it suddenly stopped working, and you send me a picture and it's cracked in half. Yeah, why didn't I just message you and say, I've just dropped this off the ladder? Is there anything you can do? And then you might say, okay, well, you've bought a few offers, I'll help you out, rather than lie to you. Yeah, it's like when we get to service a boiler. You're here for a boiler service and you get there and it's not working. And because they've not told you it's not working, why don't they just say, my boiler's not working, can you come and fix it? And then after you fixed it, then maybe we can look again at service.
Well, the thing is, if you knew what was wrong with it before you got there, you'd probably fix it quicker as well.
Oh, definitely.
So you're not in somebody's house for 3 hours trying to figure out what's the matter with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing for me is I'm always honest, and I believe 95% of the people, that's why I like Instagram, is there's a bit more positivity on there. I like to believe that 95% of the people that I deal with are the same way inclined as me. Yeah. But there is that minority of person that's just, and that's probably the downside of that. And it's always on the day when you've had a right shitter, where you're just like, you know, you want to close the door, you don't want to talk to your missus, you know, your kid's asking you to do stuff, and it's always on that time where you'll get one of those types of messages as well. I mean, I think the thing is as well now is I've just got more hardened to it. Like, actually, I've pushed back a bit more than when I first started. When I first started, I wouldn't have even said boo to a goose.
Yeah.
But obviously, because I've grown into the role and it is now my business, mine and my sister's business.
Yeah.
So I feel like, well, actually, I don't have to sit there and pander. You know, if there's an issue, I'll be straight with you. I'll fix it. If there's not, or you're trying to dance around the bushes with me, then you're going to get a bit of sarcasm from me.
It's hard not to take it to heart because it is a family business. I remember you telling me once, I think you'd just been to a funeral, so you was obviously a bit emotional, and then you got one of these messages where it's just someone being completely unreasonable.
Yeah.
And it's like, you'd think...
Yeah, my cousin had just passed away with cancer.
Yeah.
So
I remember calling you on the phone and that had just happened, and then someone was messaging you about a product and you were just like, I can't deal with it.
So I just, for me, stuff like that, like you never know what day somebody's had.
Yeah.
So I always treat people how I'd expect to be treated because, you know, like when Nick was sat there and he was telling us the story, his dad passed away, his kid was born, and then his best mate, he found him dead in a house.
Yeah.
Like,
You just don't know what...
Sweet Jesus. Like, do you know what I mean? You just don't know what day somebody's had, and it's sort of, you know, like, oh, you know, all that be kind stuff. It is literally just that.
Yeah.
Just don't be a dickhead. You know, don't be a dickhead to other people because it just comes back round on you. Some people like karma, you know, they like getting slapped with it. But I just, you know, stuff like that where you've had one of those days, cousin's died, and you get a message like that, but because it's my business, I can't switch off from that. Yeah. Which, you know, isn't a good thing either.
I know you've, like this place here, Unilight, call it The Lab.
Yeah. The lab, weirdly, because everybody thinks it's some sort of scientific block when they rock up here, they think it's AstraZeneca or something, is actually Laura Alex Bryan.
Okay.
So that's what it stood for.
So another thing I was going to ask you, have you ever named a product? Like, I know you've got the Power Bank, which is the PB.
I'll tell you a funny one is, because me and my sister went to uni, we both got degrees, so we had BA Hons after our name on the letterhead, which is really fucking corporate and cheesy, innit? The old man felt really left out, because he'd come from nothing, my dad. Yeah. So I think he left school at 16, couldn't read and write.
Self-made man, that's what we like.
Self-made man, couldn't really spell. Like, he's always struggled, and he made something of himself. But he was always like, if I come back in my next life, he says, I'm going to go to Oxford and I'm going to wear the tie everywhere. He says, I'm going to ram it in people's faces everywhere. But we said, okay then, well, do you want some letters after your name? I said, think of something and we'll put it on there. So we made up some letters. And he goes, yeah, I want CDM after my name. And I was like, CDM? I was like, is that even like a degree? And he went, yeah, Cadbury's Dairy Milk. So we literally, for about 10 years, had his name on the letterhead with CDM on it, Cadbury's Dairy Milk. And nobody ever asked us what it was, but we all found it like hilarious because we're just like, as if you've managed to get the letterhead, CDM.
I've got a funny story. So the other day, I worked with a guy called Ben. His name is Ben King, plumber. Real nice guy. I call him the posh plumber because he's very posh, very well spoken.
Hello, Peter.
But he had a delivery to the site we were on, and the guy knocks on the door, and I answer the door, and he's like, I've got a package for Dr. King. I was like, Dr. King?
Is he actually a doctor?
Well, that's what I thought for. Yeah. Is he some kind of like, because he's clever. Yeah. I'm thinking, is he some kind of like scientist and he does plumbing as a hobby? So he signed for the package, and I was like, Doctor, what's that about? He started laughing. I was like, well, go on, tell me what it is. He said, well, one night I was shopping online and it asked me for my name and address.
I've done it, yeah.
And I just filled the thing out and I put doctor. I just wanted to see what would happen. And he started getting spam emails to do with things to someone like a doctor would get. Yeah. Just because he wanted to know, like, what happens when you give your details, who gets it. And because he put doctor, all these pharmaceutical companies and things would start contacting him.
I actually did that once with, you know, G-Tech.
Yeah.
The mowers and the vacuum cleaners. Yeah. So on there, I brought a G-Tech mower and a vacuum cleaner for my old gaff. And there's like, I mean, this one website, there is literally a list of things you can be. And I was scrolling down and I was like, Lord. And I was getting mail here, everything. And that literally, when the one mower packed up, Gemma, who used to work here, she had to ring up and go, excuse me, I've got a problem with Lord Alex Inslee's lawnmower. And they were like, oh, straight through, literally straight through on the customer service. Lord's got a problem. And she said, literally, like, before when she's rang up there, it was like 5-minute wait straight through.
Really?
Lord Alex Inslee. They send me stuff now, and now it's Alex Inslee, so they must have clocked on that I'm not actually
That's
a Lord
crazy.
somewhere. But why even offer that? I might do that on ours and just see how many people have Lord Lord Peter Booth on there. I mean, I am always like, I had a boss when I was younger called Antonio Rossi, and you never forget. It's a bit like being an apprentice. Never forget it. Big fat Italian guy. I fucking hated him. Like, excuse my language. I've been swearing quite a lot tonight, but
Yep.
I absolutely despised the guy. And he used to make me stand up for 10 hours a day with a headset on, calling people to sell them advertising space for airporttechnology.com.
Right.
So it was all about like baggage conveyor belts and shit like that. And I had to ring people and try and sell advertising space. And it was one of the biggest cons ever. So obviously this was the thing, was if ever I have my own business, A, I need to treat my staff right, and B, I have got to sell something that I can put my name to.
Yeah.
Because I felt like a fraud every day going into work. But I at the time, I'd slipped a disc, and he was making me stand up for 10 hours a day because he'd read some little article on Google that scientists from America had found out that you get 10% more out of your workforce if they stand up.
Yeah.
And he goes to me the one day, he goes, "Oh, you know, I'm on 90 grand a year." He said, "One day you'll be able to buy a car like me." I said, "What car have you bought?" And he was like, "Alfa Romeo GT." And I was like, "Mate, if I was on 90 grand a year, I'd be in a flipping Rari, mate." I said, "Fuck off," like that. And I always vowed from that moment on that, like, if ever I did get into a position where actually I was earning more or had some responsibility, that I wouldn't be that person. Occasionally it pops out and I'll be like, well, like that, but I always end up apologising to people. So I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody like him, there was never any apology. And I always think that's wrong, because it's your brand, everybody in here, how it comes across on social is how people feel in here. So if you make people inspired to put out good stuff and the good content that these guys do now, and encouragement, then that shows. You know, otherwise, like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
You know, just telling people to do a job. Like I'll say to people sometimes, like Jack will tell you, he'll be working on something for 3 hours, and I go, "It's not crap, Jack, but can you? Do you know what I mean?"
Yeah.
And you have to be really sort of like, because that's somebody's been pouring their heart into that work for so long, and then you just come over and decimate it. So I'm always trying to be constructive. Like the best one was he'd done a TikTok with Baby Yoda. Do you remember that? And I walked straight over and like, I'm in the mindset that if you're going to do a social and it's for a brand, it needs to be brand. When actually now TikTok has blurred that line. It doesn't need to be. Like I said to you, our best viewed video on TikTok is him and Nathan in a hoodie running around the car park with only a Unilight hoodie on. It's not even a product in sight. So he'd done this TikTok on Baby Yoda, and I walked straight over to the computer. I was like, "Oh, fuck off, Baby Yoda." I was in one of them moods.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I could see him, and I thought, oh God, that was the wrong attitude. Because actually, when I watched it, it was Baby Yoda with some love music, like clicking through, and he was really quirky, and he got Theresa May. It was a bit like a Tinder, Baby Yoda going through different profiles, and then all of a sudden he gets to the FL, the wireless flashlight, isn't it? Yeah, WC. And he gets to that, and he goes, "Ooh," and then Baby Yoda starts like, is it George Michael tune? George Michael tune comes on. So it was actually really good.
Yeah.
It's clever. But I'd already dismissed it. So it's times like that where I look at that and I think, Antonio Rossi, mate,
Yeah.
in my head, and I have to sort of step back from there.
I know what you mean. Like with my kit bags, when I'm designing one, I have a thing in my head of what I want it to be. And obviously I work with the guys at Velocity, and Tony's got to, because he's making them and he's got to put the price point on. You can't add loads and loads of stuff to a kit bag because then it becomes too expensive. So
And it becomes more complicated.
yeah.
The more stuff that's on it, the more stuff there is
But
to go
he'll
wrong.
say, like, I'll give him my idea for a bag, and then he'll come back and say, "Oh, what about if we did this?" And if I don't like it, I can just tell that if I don't like it, I'm not going to be able to
Put your name
promote
on it.
it or
Yeah,
put my name on it, because I've got to be 100% like, I love this bag. Otherwise, I'm not going to feel like I can tell people.
You feel like a fraud. You feel like you're bullshitting
Yeah.
people. If I was selling something to somebody where there's so many brands that do it, and the thing is absolute tripe, I just couldn't put my name to it. I couldn't, like, I've got really soft ears. I don't need anybody nagging me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I couldn't pick up my phone, because you know every time you pick up the phone, somebody giving you abuse. You know, "Oh, that product's rubbish. You sold me all 10 of these. Every single one's bro." I'd just be like, I'll turn the phone over like that. I just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. So I've never understood companies that go down that route. And to be fair, most of them don't survive. You know, we've been here 40 years and have to ensure that we're here for 50 years or 60 years. Even 100 years would be a good one.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, those guys, there's loads of them about. They'll just, if someone's paid them to advertise something, even if it's crap, and they do it, you can see through it a mile off, and you know straight away. And I don't think they don't keep their credibility for long. If they've got some credibility, that's the way to lose it. Recommending something that you don't believe in or isn't a good product just because you've been paid to do it. So, well, I think we've spoken for long enough.
We're going to wrap it up, Pete.
We got you to do the like we do everyone else. Although I've noticed my time's gone up again. I'm now at 1 minute 88.
So just explain for people on the audio what we're
Alex has been on the Xbox, done the F1 lap that everyone else has to do.
Bahrain circuit.
The Bahrain circuit. Fastest lap. And I've got your time here that I've not looked at yet.
I hate this because normally it's me that's doing this. I'm like,
Okay.
I reckon Nathan, just below Nathan, I reckon.
You reckon just below Nathan?
Just below Nathan.
101.622.
Yeah.
Right, Alex. Lord Alex, I can tell you.
Lord Inselberger.
You did it. There we go. Lord Alex.
Dave's looking at me going, God, what have I done?
1
Yeah.
0 1 088. Puts you in.
Oh, yeah, second place. Oosh. I was looking then, I was thinking, hold on a minute, am I after Bundy? And then I saw Bundy's was a 5. I was like,
Just gonna have to
jammy bastard. Look at that. Yes.
There we go.
Ryan will be happy though. I'll have to message Ryan and say, you cheeky bugger. In fact, I won't. I'll just make it so people don't know who, if anybody's, they'll have to watch it to find out who the... Lord Alex. What a...
second spot.
Merci beaucoup, young Peter.
Thank you for listening to the Trade Legends podcast. Bloody marvellous. With thanks to our sponsors, Church Farm Brewery, the best beers in town. Also, Power Tool Mate. If you want to get your hands on a really good tool, it's the only place to shop. Lastly, our good friends Fix Radio, the only radio station specifically for the trade in the UK.